what car would you drive coast to coast, whether Cannonball Run style or leisurely?
It would probably be a Ferrari Daytona Coupe. And the funny story is my dad bought a Daytona Coupe in California. We lived in Kansas City, and he drove it back to Kansas City. Drove it. Back then, it was just another car. And he said he was leaving out of Los Angeles, and a guy, this is in 1970 or 71, and a guy had a big block Corvette, a 427 Corvette, and the guy gave him the look like, let's go, right? They're heading off into the Arizona desert. You've got a brand new Daytona Coupe, why wouldn't you? And so my dad takes off against the guy, and they're dropping gears, and they're matched. He said, matched gear for gear. And when they got to fourth gear, he realized he still had a gear left, and the Corvette didn't. And he looked over and dropped into fifth and just pulled away from this guy down the freeway. He's like, that's pretty cool. And then my dad said after that, the car began to barrel smoke, and he thought, oh my gosh, I've blown up a brand new V12 Ferrari. This is really bad, really bad. He pulls over and smoke's pouring out. It turns out he had just revved it so hard that the oil was sumping up in the heads and it was burning off on the valves. Let it cool down and drove sensibly the rest of the way back to Kansas City.
A great story.
Yeah.
If you could, what personality from automotive history would you like to spend time with, whether over lunch or go for a drive?
No doubt it would be E.T. Gregory, Bob Gregory, who I mentioned earlier. If you look at the greatest, most beautiful Ford designs of the 1930s, it was Bob Gregory. He had started in speedboat design, and Edsel Ford was the stylist. Henry was pragmatic. He was great at building cars, but he didn't understand style and paint and options and glamour and movement. And Bob Gregory, as a speedboat guy, he understood how to imply motion with shapes. I would love to spend time with him and just say, I just want to know, like, what goes through your mind when you're pinning these cars? How do you make stuff so beautiful?
Okay.
Yeah.
Which automotive event would you wish to attend, and what car would you like to take with you?
I want to get over to Goodwood at some point in my life. I want to go to the Revival. And if you guys don't know about Goodwood, it's south of London. It's on the estate of a guy named Lord March, who has two events. One is called the Festival of Speed, where you race up the hill, and the other one is called the Revival, where you're supposed to come in period clothing and bring a period car. There's World War II planes flying overhead, right up my alley. I think that's a Pixar world just waiting to happen. So I'd like to go to that.
I highly recommend it.
Hopefully I can go with you sometime, and you can pick my car we go in.
What is your most cherished automotive artifact?
That's a good one. I've got a lot of nice little bits from the years of working on the Cars films, but probably the most personal to me was my dad passed away in May of 12, and that summer I went to Bonneville, and Bruce Meyer, who's a good friend of mine, was racing at Bonneville for the first time that year, and he wanted to go over 200 miles an hour, and he had bought a Roadster that was a 200-mile-an-hour club car. He really wanted to get his 200-mile-an-hour hat, and I asked him to pack some of my dad's ashes in the chute, which he did for me.